Hello and welcome to Stupid Ancient History with Midgley
and Taylor and our expert, non-expert and special guest, the amazing James, hegemon of all that is science and wearer of fancy lab coats.
Hello.
As always, we're wearing togas and today we're going to look at Alexander the Great's youth. Previously on Stupid Ancient History, we were looking at the remarkable account of the conception and birth of Alexander the Great.
How it was claimed by some that he was the child of Zeus after Olympias was struck by lightning in her womb.
That I can confirm that is how that works.
Yes.
What kind of scientist are you?
Well, not a biologist. So.
Anyway, and how these stories gained further traction when his father, Philip II of Macedon's various dreams and the advice he got from different seers.
Yeah, and we also have the lion seal on his wife's womb, which was meant to suggest that his child was destined for great things.
And he lost an eye, didn't he?
He did lose that eye, absolutely. And with his birth, three omens seemed to seal the deal of Alexander's future greatness.
So there was the burning of the temple in Ephesus, victory over the Illyrians, and victory in the Olympics, all pointed to a child who would be unconquerable.
Is that it? Just those three signs?
Yeah,
nothing else happened. There wasn't any other
What
fanfare.
more do you want?
I don't know, just like the gods descending and saying, yep, him, he's awesome.
All right, they did that as well.
Cool.
Did not do that. Do not write that down.
So all these omens,
Yep.
son of Zeus, son of a king that's conquered lots of Greece, it's kind of set him up a kind of lofty ambition for him even before he's even been born.
A little bit of pressure.
Yeah. How does he deal with it?
Well, also there is, of course, and this is made much more intense, as he's the eldest male son of Philip and heir to the Macedonian throne.
Now, which wife? Because he's got several.
Olympias.
So he's
She
got-
was wife number 4,
So, but first son.
but first male son.
So the previous 3 wives hadn't given him any.
We're not sure.
Okay.
So anyway, but
Because we did talk about this constant procession of killing the person who's going to be king before you.
yeah.
So Alexander didn't have any brothers he had to off before.
Well, if he did, they
there
don't,
was-
they
there
don't
was-
make him much of a mention.
They were so unknown. He killed them so quickly.
Yeah, in utero.
Yeah.
But anyway, I mean, there's a lot more to occupy young Alexander's mind. Like I said, most notably, this breakdown in the marriage between Philip and Olympias.
Oh no, what happened?
Well, don't forget, Plutarch describes how Philip's love and friendliness towards his wife took a steep nosedive.
Okay.
It's the whole God conception thing.
I was about to say,
Doesn't
do we know why, or just he married wife number 5 and she was no longer favourite?
it was the God conception thing.
Right, okay.
So anyway, this meant that Alexander, to some extent, is a bit of a ping pong ball batted between these two rival parents. If he's so
okay.
great, they obviously have their own expectations on this young kid who's just been born, doesn't know what's going on, but
So
there's a lot of pressure.
So even though she's no longer like the favourite queen, she still has a lot of power
Yes,
Right.
through
her
Alexander.
son. Right, okay. So she was like a proxy for him.
Yeah, absolutely. And
Yeah, he was a proxy for her. So.
yeah, and they're both willing to use this newborn child to get one up on each other.
Okay.
It's a fair assumption, I would say.
Did Alexander never just go, no, stop it, I've had enough?
Spoilers.
Okay.
So, from an early age, it seems Alexander is caught between these two, and in his early years, we're told that the influence of his mother becomes quite key.
It seems that whenever possible, she reminds Alexander of his great origins and that he is special.
So that being like the son of Zeus.
Yeah.
Spoiled
Does
brat
that,
alert,
does
I
that,
would
does that
say.
really make him not Philip's son?
Yeah.
How does he like? You're like, you're not right. You're the stepchild at best.
You're not my real dad. He's a god. Yeah, and Olympus is keen to plant that seed, so she doesn't want to distance Alexander or by proxy herself too far from the Macedonian throne.
Right. Okay. So she's basically getting the. So he's going to be king, even
Yep.
though he's not Philip's son,
Well, yeah.
but
And then she gets to be Queen Mother.
Queen Mother. But he's. How does he take this? He's a bit of a mummy's boy. Or...
Well, that's how she's trying to make it. She's
Yeah,
trying to
yeah.
basically define, this is my camp and you are firmly in it.
Yeah.
That's not your real dad. Your real dad.
I'm your real mum. Your real dad's in the sky.
Yeah,
Don't
that's
worry.
it.
He's everywhere. Don't worry about him.
Yeah, but again, I mean, it seems this is going on, but this rivalry over Alexander's future really starts kicking in as well. So she's wanting him to stay in the palace, sit on soft cushions, be the future king.
I'm guessing Philip wants him to go off and
Well,
conquer and stab and...
Yeah. So
The kings pillage, they conquer. Don't
Yeah.
they?
conquer. So Plutarch tells us that Philip was keen for young Alexander to kind of mix more readily with the other boys his age. So he wants him to be a bit more grounded, I suppose.
So other boys his age, does he mean like...
Nobility.
No, but is that like soft cushions or is that out fighting?
No.
Out scrapping with
Yeah.
the lads.
Right, okay.
Yeah, I mean, this is Philip definitely kind of trying to raise him to be a future general.
Yeah.
He can't be sat inside on a soft cushion. Get out there and fight with the other kids.
Yeah, he wants to
And come back when you've won.
Yeah, he wants to toughen him up so
Yeah.
that he can lead men into battle.
Yeah, and definitely it's because Philip is keen that Alexander should follow in his footsteps, command armies, and not sit on a fancy throne. He can't command a bunch of hard Macedonians if he's just...
If he gets a
Got
long
splinter.
enough stick, he can.
He doesn't want a wimp, basically.
Fair enough. So you've just said a lot about what Philip and Olympius. Sounds like a boy's name. But yeah, so you've said what mum and dad want for Alexander. Does he have any say in his own life? What does... Do we know anything about him?
Well, I mean, the descriptions of Alexander do, as a child, seem quite contradictory. I mean, he's probably batted from one end to the other. He doesn't know what he wants to be.
Is this all written at the time or after the...
After the time.
Right, okay. So what do they say about him then?
Well,
So Plutarch says, whilst he was still a child, his self-restraint became clear. Although he was impetuous and violent in other respects, the pleasures of the body moved him little, and he made contact with such things with great moderation.
So he's a quiet, violent, frigid lad.
told you they were contradictory.
Typical serial killer.
Is it a serial killer if you just invade an entire nation?
I think that is just a perfect excuse for being a serial killer, because basically you can get away with it. No one's going to question you.
Yeah,
Right.
they don't really seem to be able to make their mind about what he's like there.
No. So in some respects, he is quiet and restrained. But other times he's...
So when they say pleasure of
violent.
the body, do they mean like...
He doesn't like girls, really.
Girls and boys, or food and drink, or what do they mean by that?
We can probably suggest it's girls.
Okay.
Doesn't like girls. He's a bit shy, bit awkward. Bit of a deep thinker,
Okay.
as Plutarch then goes on to say.
Love of honour made him think seriously and in a lofty way, beyond what might have been expected at his age. He did not like all forms of fame, and from any quarter, as Philip did. Philip had shown off as a sophist with his cleverness in argument, and had his chariot victories at the Olympic Games engraved on coins.
Okay.
So he's got this kind of lofty disinterest.
Right, okay. So
Yeah.
Alexander's not like that, though. He'd rather just sit down and read.
He seems, I mean, he's got this disinterest in doing what's expected of him, or doing what his dad would have done. So he's not Philip Mark II.
He's not.
But he knows what he doesn't like doing.
Okay.
And sometimes though, this comes off as quite arrogant, as Plutarch now adds.
He's not super boss, is he?
When, however, those around him asked if he was willing to compete in the foot race at the Olympics, for he was a good runner, he said, "If kings are intending to compete, yes." Alexander appears to have had a negative attitude to the whole class of athletes.
Fair play. My philosophy, you should only ever run if you're being chased.
Yeah, he just wants to sit at home and read.
Good lad. So in this like tug of war
Yep.
with
Olympius.
and Philip over Alexander, she seems to be winning.
Yeah, I mean, arguably right. But it's paying off for Philip too, as Alexander's clearly been brushing up on his stagecraft.
Right, okay.
As future king. So a perfect example of this occurs when, at the tender age of 8, young Alexander has to entertain some Persian ambassadors because, Philip's off fighting people.
Who is left to fight now?
That guy down the road who looked at him funny. So anyway, these Persian ambassadors turned up and knock on the door. Philip's not in. Alexander has to greet these important people.
My 8-year-old son is
My
here.
8-year-old son's in charge. And then Plutarch tells us...
So Alexander entertained them and spent time with them and impressed them with his friendliness. He asked no childish or trivial questions, but wanted to know about the length of roads in Persia and what the journey from the coast into the interior was like, and also what sort of warrior the king was, and how courageous and powerful the Persians were, with the result that they were astonished and considered that Philip's reputation for cleverness was at nothing compared to Alexander's eagerness to achieve great things.
I mean, he sounds like a right laugh, doesn't he?
Bit of a nerd.
I mean, I can't remember what I was doing at 8, but I didn't care about the roads in Persia.
Did you not want to have a detailed conversation about like the Manchester Ring Road?
I did. You know what? I might have done it had I known the ring road was a thing when I was 8.
No, I mean, nerd or not, he certainly seems smarter than your average 8-year-old.
If you believe the sources, this is the thing, isn't it?
Yeah, well, they're not going to say the Persians turned up and he chucked a Lego brick at them, are they? It can't be very great if...
It's more believable.
It's more believable.
But anyway, it's fair to say that even though he seems to be spending quite a lot of time on the kind of the thinking side of being heir to the throne in Camp Olympius, his desire for glory and to emulate his dad, it's never far beneath the surface.
Right,
As
okay.
Plutarch chips in.
Whenever it was announced that Philip had taken a famous city or achieved a notable victory in battle, Alexander was not very happy to hear it, but said to his friends, "Boys, my father will capture everything first. He will leave no great and brilliant deed for me to achieve with your help."
Right, so he does want to go and conquer.
Yeah, he's definitely got these dreams of being the great hero. 'Cause, I mean, you can inherit wealth and power, and he's already going to have that, but he wants fame and glory.
And you get that by conquering other
by
places.
doing it yourself. You can't just trade on the fact that, my
My
dad
dad
conquered everyone.
Yeah.
And what did you do? Sat and met some Persians.
They were very impressed with me, though.
But fame and glory would have to wait because Alexander was still quite young.
So he's
Yeah.
still 8 at this point.
Yeah.
He had homework to do, James.
Was it about Persian roads? Is that why I was asking?
Yeah, that was the answer to his test the next day.
Infrastructure.
So with his education, we can see, again, Alexander is being battered between these two rival parents. And if nothing else, the concern seems to be as far as who teaches him. So
Okay.
Plutarch chips in.
As you might expect, there were many nurses and tutors and teachers appointed to look after him, and in charge of them all was Leonidas, a man of austere character and a relative of Olympius. He accepted the title of tutor, as it was a noble and splendid occupation, but because of his reputation and his family relationship, he was called by others the foster father and guide of Alexander.
So mum's relative is teaching him. How does Philip feel about that?
Not great.
And what, do we know what relative?
Vague relative.
Okay, and I'm guessing this isn't like 300.
Oh, no,
Leonidas.
it's hundreds
Yeah.
of years later. Also, this idea of him being the foster father, clearly, Philip's not loving that idea. He's absolutely a little concerned about this guy's influence over young Alexander, but he has a plan.
Is it murder?
No.
So, because he did not entirely trust the direction and education of the boy to the teachers of music and other studies, he sent for the most well-known philosopher Aristotle and paid him a fee which was noble and appropriate.
Okay, so if you're going to have a teacher, you got like the top shelf one.
He's come for God tier teacher.
Who's the biggest brain in the world at the minute? I'll have him.
Let's
That'll
have
be
him.
fine.
Yeah, he is like having Stephen Hawking as his science tutor.
I wouldn't have thought he was for hire. I would have thought he'd just be like too busy thinking.
Yeah, but you can't say no to Philip.
Right, okay.
If you say no to Philip, towns tend to burn.
So at this point, he's in charge of all of Greece.
Pretty much.
So he is. Right, okay.
So yeah, it's Aristotle, and apparently he's a massive influence on Alexander.
I mean, you want him to like phone it in, wouldn't you?
No, you seem to be getting his money's worth out of him. So as Plutarch pops in,
In my opinion, Aristotle was more responsible than anyone else for Alexander's interest in healing. Not only was Alexander interested in theory, but he also offered help to friends when they were ill, and he suggested remedies and changes to the way they looked.
The way they look.
I know, that sounds a bit dodgy.
Like, the
early cosmetic surgery.
The healing part, I'm well up with. At the end, it's like, no shoes, mate. They don't go with that toga. Get rid. Okay, so he's getting him more into nerdy stuff.
More nerding, less fighting.
Right,
But
okay.
sort of, because Plutarch quickly follows.
I assume he still has like a master at arms who's teaching him to
Yeah.
fight and stuff like that.
Yeah. But yeah, Plutarch quickly chips in.
He was naturally interested in learning and was a keen reader. He considered and called the Iliad a manual of military skill, and he took with him a copy corrected by Aristotle, which was called the Iliad of the Casket. He always kept it by him under his pillow, together with a dagger.
Okay. So he's like, I'm reading, but I'm ready for a fight.
I'm reading. If you try and stop me, I'm going to cut you.
Yeah. How did Aristotle correct the Iliad?
Just by putting by Aristotle.
Homer? No. Aristotle.
So yeah, I mean, the fact that he's reading the Iliad and he
At
becomes,
8.
At 8. And
I'm 36 and I haven't read it.
Shame on you!
yeah, he becomes so entrenched in this idea of Achilles and victory in war that, yeah, the nerding's going to pay off later on.
Fair enough. So at this point, Alexander's not very old,
No.
but he's still spending a lot of his time reading and kind of preparing to be a stately kind of king.
Yeah.
Mum's getting what she wants, isn't she?
Yeah, I mean, it certainly seems that way. But like I said, his desire to equal his dad in military terms is still, it's bubbling up. I mean, normal people don't sleep with knives under the pillow.
No, and I assume like if he's still 8 at this point, once the testosterone kicks in, he'll want to have a fight a bit.
Yeah, absolutely.
I was going to say, are you sure? I used to have a hatchet under my pillow when I was like
We
5.
did preface it with normal people. So yeah, he's ready for a scrap.
Yeah, and the Greeks give him the opportunity to go and have a scrap, quite luckily for him, with his dagger.
Who's he fighting now? Is it other Greeks?
Yeah, so
Yeah, they love fighting Greeks.
they do. So Plutarch begins this little saga like so.
When Philip was making an expedition against the people of Byzantium, Alexander, aged 16, was left in charge of affairs in Macedonia and was keeper of the king's seal.
Okay, so Philip's left him in charge.
Yep. Oh, obviously, why he's off conquering
He's off
again.
conquering. You're in charge, like...
They'll burn the house down.
Yeah. I'm
parties.
trusting you, so no parties. Remember to turn the gas off before you go to bed. All goes smoothly, presumably.
So the next bit says, when the Medi revolted, he overcame them. After capturing their city, he drove out the barbarians and settled a mixed population there and renamed the city Alexandropolis.
Oh, does that just mean Alexander's city or something?
Yeah,
like
pretty
that?
much.
Okay.
So, you know, he's off to a good start. You know, he's
So
defeated
obviously, I know we eventually get Alexandria in
everywhere.
Egypt. How often does he rename something after himself?
Frequently.
Quite, yeah, I was going to say quite a lot. There's a skit on Horrible Histories where it basically just goes through all of the different cities that he conquered and he just called them all Alexander. Yeah, Alexandria 1, 2.
Alexandros.
No, they're all just called Alexandria.
Doesn't he name one his name but backwards?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Where's that?
Turkey.
Okay.
So anyway, yeah, I mean, trial run. He's defeated someone. He's named something after himself. But then, more worryingly, while Philip's still away, the Thebans Revolt.
Is that a deal? Who are the Thebans?
It is a deal.
Is
They are a problem.
They are a problem. They're quite a powerful state.
Like a Greek city-state?
Oh,
or-
yes.
Okay.
But, you know, Alexander digs out the dagger.
Under his pillow.
Off
He's
he
like,
goes.
wakes up. Oh, leave the
Puts
book.
down the book, gets the knife.
Yeah.
So he was present at and took part in the battle against the Greeks at Chaeronea. Chironea, there you go. And it is said that he led the charge against the sacred band of the Thebans.
Why are they called the Sacred Band?
The Sacred Band of Thebans are a really interesting thing.
Okay.
They are apparently Greece's greatest military presence.
Okay.
It's a part of the army made up of 150 pairs of male lovers.
Okay.
And apparently they were undefeatable.
Is that because they care about the other one so much?
Yeah, that's the thinking behind it. But apparently they are completely undefeatable
Until Alexander turns
16-year-old Alexander turns up and takes part in the charge.
Okay.
I mean, it suggests that he was leading the charge, but realistically, he's going to have some of Philip's mates hanging around to look after him.
Yeah.
But
You don't leave him completely on your own.
no. So, 16-year-old,
It's going well.
major military victory, burns down Thebes afterwards as a celebration.
Does he not need that?
No.
Okay.
No.
I'm guessing Greek Thebes and Egyptian Thebes have nothing to do with each other.
No,
They
they're
just
quite different.
Okay. How secure is Philip's rule? Because it seems like every time he's away, someone has a pop at Alexander.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty secure. I mean, they're thinking while Philip's away, ooh, this is our chance. Oh no!
But his son is
Suspiciously good child has just defeated everyone. Oh.
So yeah, there's a bit of a pattern to this.
There is
isn't there?
definitely a pattern emerging. I mean, Alexander initially spends much of his youth studying, being the little nerd, because, he's only little, becoming the heir of Macedonia.
Mm-hmm.
So pretty much as Olympius would want. However,
Yeah.
As soon as he does get the chance, his urge to get out there and scrap and win battles just takes over, comes rushing to the surface, and he's off burning down city-states.
And naming things
and
after
naming
himself.
things after himself.
just like Philip wanted.
Did Philip not have that habit of naming things after himself?
Yes, he named a few things after himself.
Okay.
A few cities.
So Philip's not. How's Philip now viewing Alexander? Is he like, yes, my son's becoming my boy, or is he still like, mother's got hooks at him, sort of thing?
He seems quite happy with his child prodigy.
He's not renamed anything from Philip Host to Alexander, has he?
No, so Plutarch then adds,
Because of this, as one might expect, Philip was very fond indeed of his son, and was even delighted when he heard the Macedonians calling Alexander their king and Philip their general.
Oh.
Yeah.
That's very good of a king to not mind that. It's not when people start dying, isn't it?
yeah, I mean, but again, you've got to think what kind of king Philip is. He's not a sitting about in a palace kind of
Fair
king.
enough,
He gets
yeah.
bored easily.
Got-
He's been at home for 6 weeks. It's like, oh, I haven't
go
conquered
fight
that
something.
yet. Yeah, what was that? Someone cut right. I'm off to fight him. So he's happy being the general, and Alexander's the king. So he's like,
Fair enough.
fine. So yeah, it seems despite everything, Alexander in his youth is able to temper these two warring parents and the two warring sides of his personality. And
The book and the dagger.
yeah, got a book and a dagger, but he's studied medicine, so he knows how to fix you if he accidentally cuts you.
And then comment on your dress.
Well,
and
I
how
think
you
he's probably just trying to cut your hair because he doesn't like what you've done. So yeah, so all throughout his youth, we've got these stories where he's definitely becoming the Alexander that we're going to get to see later on. He's smart, he's intelligent, loves a good scrap.
So if he's 16 now, when does the great come into it?
Later.
Okay.
At the moment, he's Alexander the... Yeah,
He's
pretty
all right.
good.
Yeah.
Yeah, nicely done.
So it's not a posthumous thing. It was in his lifetime. He gets called the great.
Yes and no.
Okay.
It's more complicated than that. Why wouldn't it be? So obviously from Alexander's youth, there's a couple of key things that are emerging and will be quite important later on.
So the first one is the influence of Olympias, his mother, and the fact that she wants someone who is very good at the, shall we say, diplomatic side of things.
She wants a nice shiny boy king.
Yeah, so she wants someone who knows what the job is very good at doing that job, and is someone who maybe she can manipulate.
Yeah,
Quite
he's
a lot.
definitely her anchor to the throne of Macedon.
Yeah, so you can see parallels, can't you, with other kind of ancient rulers and the influence of their overbearing mothers, shall we say.
I was just going to ask, all these... I know Agrippine is the go-to one.
Yeah.
All these mothers who try and get their claws into their sons, does it ever really go well for them?
Not really.
Not really, no.
I mean, there's degrees of bad.
Yeah.
I mean, Nero was...
But he was quite bad.
Yeah.
But no,
then
it never really works out.
It always seems, as in this case, that maybe they start off having more influence in the beginning, but ultimately that is overshadowed by the influence of their father.
Right.
And that
Yeah.
always becomes the more dominant force as they get older. But she wants to use him, doesn't she, for her own kind of means
yeah.
to try and maintain power. But
If this is her clinging to power, are other wives conspiring, or are they just in the background happy being...
We don't know. She may have offed them as well. I mean,
Are the other 6 just not really an entity?
we just don't know about them.
Right,
I mean,
okay.
they may exist. They may have fallen down some stairs onto some knives.
Right,
You know,
okay.
these kind of things happen.
But
They're
ultimately,
religious.
he does need to have both parts, doesn't he? He can't just be a king that's out fighting everyone. He's got to also understand.
Philip,
I'm
how
about to
did
say,
you-
it works out well for his
But
dad.
he's got to also understand what it is to be a king, especially if his dad has conquered the majority of Greece. That aspect of being a king probably isn't as important moving forward as the other part is. You're gonna need both, because ultimately you've got to be able to maintain the empire that you've got as well as try and grow it even more. So
that
the role of
doesn't
his
really
mother
work
is
out that well.
Is it-
it's important.
Is
It
it
is.
not?
Still important. He's got to know how to do the job.
Is that the way it was done in Greece, or were they just like, I'll conquer everything and then some nerd will run it for me?
Well, that's the approach Philip took. He wasn't really interested in running the rest of Greece. So when he conquers them, he creates this position, this hegemon of the League of Corinth, where the deal is, you run your cities how you like. What's that, Athens? You want democracy? Go for your life. What's that? Thebes, you're on fire? Well, that's what you get. What's that, Argos? You don't care? Yeah, that's fine. He's only interested in their military power.
Right,
So as
okay.
hegemon of Greece, he commands all the armies of Greece, and they can do what the hell they want
Right,
most of the
okay.
time. But again, this is the influence of Philip definitely coming in. He's far more straightforward. He wants a son who he can go charge into battle with and chop some people into small strips with.
Yeah.
And he wants him to be this general,
Yeah.
like he is. And then obviously, accordingly, Alexander grows up with these two sides. He's equally intelligent and keen to learn, but as soon as he gets a chance,
He'll go burn your
out-
city down.
yeah, he'll burn your city down and
Could
scrap
we
you out.
also say, though, as well, is this not just the sources trying to show Alexander as being a model of a perfect king, because he has got these two very separate, very distinct sides that come together
Well,
to form the ultimate
this is-
possible
Kn-
ruler.
knowing how this turns out, no.
Well, this is why I asked.
Doesn't-
Are these all contemporary sources? Are these written after
No,
the
this is
fact?
all Plutarch, who's writing a good 400 years afterwards.
Right, okay.
And Plutarch's a biographer, so what you'll find with Plutarch's kind of more contemporary biographies, people like Alexander or Themistocles or Lysander, there's an arc. So in the early years, you'll start to see the characteristics form that will then come out later on in the story of what they do next.
Right, okay.
Before usually they come to a bit of a sticky end.
Right, okay.
So that's why.
Spoilers. For
Sorry.
this 2,000-year-old story.
So, there you have it, our quick overview of the youth of Alexander. Thank you for listening. We hope this has been useful. As always, leave us a comment below, and until next time, goodbye.
Bye.
Bye.